Good evening from Sacred Space, Titania's Realm. So I just wanted to make this video because I had an interesting time dancing last night. I'm pretty sure, but not 100% sure, that one of my casino friends was, let's get some light on it, was matchmaking a little bit. But I don't know who she was matchmaking me with, because she messaged me this evening and said, "Oh, did anyone, show up last night?" No. But there was a very loving, lots of love energy last night in the room and at the Live Wire Bar. And, with the regulars and in the casino, men and women, and it was lovely, and I had a lovely time. Just trying to find out who my dog's barking at. And so we had a lovely time. And, yes, and I was just thinking about my friend Seagal, because I'm very protective of Seagal, because we've known each other for years in that dance space. And so she was very sweet last night. She came up, and she always says this nearly every time. Nearly every weekend, she always says to me, "So which holiday is it now?" Meaning, which Jewish holiday is it? And I said to her, "Oh, well, tonight is the yort site of my father's death." And she went, "Oh." And I said, "Indeed." I didn't have a very nice father. And I said, "Yes." And on his birthday, on the 6th of March, I said, "It is the first night of Purim." So I said, "Happy Purim." And she was like, "Oh, it's Purim." And I was like, yes. And I said, "But you and I, Seagal," I said, "for us, it is a holiday every day of the year." And then she smiled and she said, "It is so good to be Jewish." And I said, yes, it is indeed. Amen." And we were like laughing to ourselves. Anyway, she asked me if I was still making jewellery. And I said, yes, I was. And then she told me, she's a very bright woman, very, very intelligent woman. She told me that back in Israel as a young girl, she used to do diamond setting. And she said, but she didn't keep doing it. She said, because she was young and foolish and left the job. I said, "Why did you do that, Seagal? You would have had a wonderful career." She said, "Yes, I know. I regret it now." I said, "Oh, maybe you can teach me how to set diamonds." Where would I get the diamonds from, people? Diamonds on the soles of my shoes at Diamond Street. But anyway, I had to laugh about that. But she said, "Oh, it's a very complicated thing. It's a skill you need to know, and it's not simple, and you've got to prepare the metal." And I'm trying not to laugh because I already know that. So anyway, I've been making these copper bracelets. I texturized them. They came up really nice. And so yesterday I worked very hard. I've patinaed these, and they've come up all sort of different colours, because the patina I use is really for sterling silver. But I thought they came up interesting colours. But yeah, that's the textures. Let me get it in focus. Yeah, I'm really happy with those texture plates I bought. So I made 2 of those. Oh no, I've made 3 because that one's got to be finished off. And so I made 2 of different pattern. I've only got 2. Very similar pattern. And yeah. And I made 2 hammered ones. So those. And I've got another wider one that I made weeks ago. And then I've got these Viking braided bracelets that I was teaching myself how to braid wire. So they're all for sale, $40 each if anyone wants them. DM me or message me, although on YouTube I don't know how you'd message me, but I do have my Instagram on Titania's Realm, so if anyone's interested in buying my beautiful bracelets that I've worked so hard on, that would be lovely, because if I can sell my jewellery, then I can put it into buying more metal and making more stock and more lovely things. And and tools and stuff. I'm having so much fun with this, even though I'm not selling yet. No one's bought anything yet. I don't mind. And Jo asked me last night, she said, so what are you doing with all the stuff you're making? I said, I'm just stockpiling it. She said, well, what for? I said, well, it's not selling, is it? So I said, it'll just be a nice inheritance for my kids. And at least it's not all costume jewellery. Like, the kids can sell the copper for the value of copper, which isn't very much. And the sterling silver, they can melt down or turn into more sterling things. So it's not wastage. Whereas what I inherited from my mother was a lot of wastage. It was like non-silvered chains like this that had all corroded and gone awful. Like you can see, some of those are actually corroded and yuck. And they can't be revived because they're just pot metal, so you just have to throw them out. So I had like hundreds of stuff like that. It's worthless. All went in the bin. So that's the other reason why I'm determined to make things in sterling silver or in gold if I can afford gold down the track. So it's not rubbish and it's something that's still worth money at the end of the day. Because I've still got stuff from my mother that, the majority of it I actually gave away to charity or to little children down the road. I had lots of broken jewellery. So, but yeah, I've still got a few things lying on this rack, like these really tacky 80s chunky necklaces. Like, no one's going to buy that. It's so old-fashioned. But they're good for, like, ripping up and making, like, bead fascinators for the windows. Although they didn't sell either. So sometimes I get despairing and think, I'm really wasting my time. I'm wasting my time. Everything, my whole life is a gigantic waste of time. Except for going dancing, which I don't get paid for, obviously, because I go there as a social outlet. But at least when I go dancing, I'm getting exercise, jigga, all my fat, and bouncing my babies around, a bit too bouncy. And I sometimes meet interesting people, no one that I've formed a partnership with, but that's okay. And, I have lots of fun, enjoying my life, what's left of it. So that has its purpose. And the jewellery making I do during the week is to also has its purpose, keep my brain occupied and give me hope that one day I might get a little business happening. So, mind you, it's an expensive hobby, so I don't know. But it's something to fill my days instead of worrying constantly about, COVID, nuclear holocaust, other biological weapons they'll no doubt unleash on us because they can, because they're arseholes. And, poverty issues, worry about, the breakdown of modern society, all those things that I do worry about and I'm quite vocal and advocate against on both vocal media and Facebook. So the jewellery is just something to give me a focus to channel my energies into in a positive, constructive way. That leaves me with something beautiful to show for at the end of it, that can be worn as an adornment and that sparks joy for someone. Hopefully someone other than just myself, because otherwise I am really wasting my time. But what is life? It's just one big filling time between incarnations, I guess. So you could look at it philosophically like that. So yes, the girl was cute. There was a regular last night who was watching me like a hawk, and he actually looks a bit like Rick Mail, the English from Young Ones, a comedian. And he was dancing and he even pulls all the faces. And I'm like, I was getting weirded out actually. He's probably a nice man, but he's a bit weird. But I didn't tell him that he looked like Rick Mile because I didn't want to insult him. Some people have got no sense of humour and they get insulted. Like I was once told that I looked like Ralph Nader, and I was a little bit insulted when I saw the photo of him. But anywho, is it Ralph Nader? Anyway, I'll Google it later. He was from Serbia originally, so anyway, so it's funny, and I did make the faux pas of saying to this Jewish guy in my former Brisbane Jewish community, he had the nose, he really had the nose, that he looked like Jimmy Durante, and he was so offended. And it's like, man, like, have you looked in the mirror? Like, I've got a funny schnoz too that looks like Ralph Nader's schnoz. Like, just go, oh well, it's a face that can launch 1,000 ships. Be grateful to know, just turn it into a positive spin and have a laugh at yourself. But some people have got such poor ego identity, they just have no sense of humour anyway. What can I say? I wasn't trying to be mean anyway, I just made a flippant comment. And anyway, Rick Mile guy last night, who really does look a lot like Rick Mile, has even got the large head and the face. They could be related. I actually must ask him. I'll get drunk one night and I'll go, are you related to Rick Mile? Are you like first cousins, or are you did your father get around? No, I can't. It's not very nice. Anyway, he came to dance with me at the end of the night with Seagal, and he was actually a bit protective because there was this other guy bouncing around who kept backing up and backing into my spot and backing physically into me, which they do when they want to meet you, but they've got no skills and they're just aggressive and really quite awful and crass. So I'm dancing as fast as I can, and this person, this male, backs into me, and I'm still dancing, and I just put my hand up, press it against his chest, against his back, and firmly push him away from me. So he turned around and gave me evils, and I'm just like, it's like he knew I was dancing there. I'm always in the same spot all night, It's like, don't be crass. So anyway, Chris, this guy that I think looks like Rick Mile, he actually dive bombed in and came and danced with Seagal and I think that was a little bit to be a bit protective of me, quite frankly, which was sweet, Anyway, he and Seagal left together, so they must be friends, And I thought, well, that's good. That takes the heat out of my kitchen. And so I kept dancing a little bit longer, but I was actually really, really tired because yesterday I had worked on these bangles all day, polishing and rounding off the edges and sanding them back and polishing. And I actually had put this clear gloss on the back of the couple of the bangles, and it had turned a horrible oxidized greenish colour, and I actually wanted it so that when people wear it they don't turn green, and it went all funny. So I had to spend hours yesterday sanding and scrubbing all the freaking varnish off, so I was fair pissed off about that, as you can imagine. It's like having to do a job twice or 3 times over. But I did manage to get it off, and there's a product I need to buy that probably won't discolour, but it's hideously expensive, so I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, anyway, all my copper bracelets. I do like copper. It's a pretty metal. I have it all around the house. I've got copper pots and copper decor. I've even got a copper. It turned out to be my front door handle, because this is an original 1940s post-war cottage. It was copper, and I was staring at it one day. I thought it was all dark and manky looking, and I thought, you're just badly tarnished. What's under that? And I gave it a good clean up and polish, and it's copper. So all the door handles in this house were originally copper, but housing ripped out the copper, didn't they, and put cheap ones in. But because that one, the front door was so badly tarnished, they hadn't realised it was copper, so they left it behind. So it looks nice. So I kind of have to laugh at myself how even my front door has copper on it, And then I have the whole house full of copper, I put copper curtain rods in the kitchen, and in the shower stall I put a copper rod. So copper all through the house rather. And now I'm making copper bracelets as well. So I have an obsession with copper lately. And copper is the metal associated with the Greek goddess Venus, or Aphrodite she's called in Greek. In Roman she's called Venus. So copper is associated with Aphrodite, or Venus, who is the goddess of love. So here I am scrubbing and polishing and getting really frenzied, trying to get all the copper right. And then last night there was this beautiful, sweet love energy. And one of the regulars who's only been coming for 3 months, he was quite sweet with me last night. Now, none of them asked me out, right? They just assume that they have this relationship once a week based on they hang out with me while I dance like a crazy person. But none of them actually asked to date you. And I'm not interested in any of them at the moment anyway. I'm still healing from cumulative damage from the last few guys. And the last one I'm still healing from, which is a shame really. I shouldn't still be healing, should I? I should be over it by now, but it was just awful how I was treated. And like I say, he actually said to me, I never date you, like I'm some sort of scum, like how dare he. But anyway, that's okay. At that space of life, I didn't care if anyone dated me or not. I was too focused on staying alive and remaining free, right? Which is the only way to go. Stay alive and remain free and sane and, sanguinosis and comfortable in your own body, mind and spirit, and don't accept crumbs and second-rate individuals who are just low life and scum. Raise your standards, Tanya. That's how I talk to myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, this very nice man's been coming, and I believe he's Māori, or part Māori, and he was a bit sweet with me. Before I left, he said, come here. I don't like men ordering me around, but I was saying goodbye to him. Bye, have a good night. And he looked a bit disappointed that I was leaving, but it was like 1:30. And I was tired. I've been dancing for, hours. Plus I worked so hard yesterday on all these projects. And so just he said, come over here. And just to be nice, I did. And he planted a big kiss on my cheek, which was sweet. So I gave a big kiss on his cheek. And it was very affectionate. But now I'm worried. I'm thinking, I hope he doesn't think I'm into him and that I want to date him or anything like that. Just being nice doesn't mean that I want to race them off and take them to my boudoir and give them a wild old rollicking time like I used to in the good old days when I was still a vibrant femme fatale of sexual energy. Now I can't be bothered. I really can't. I'd rather have a nice cup of tea and a bit of chocolate and watch a nice movie. It's sad, really. But that's because of the damage that was done to me by this vicious low-life entity. So maybe I'll get over it one day, go back to my former zesty, vibrant, vivacious, sexual persona, but I don't think so. I was younger then, I'm nearly 58, so I'm burnt out. I'm just burnt out old lady now. Plus I've had all the health issues in recent months, so I'm really not fit to be in any looking for any romantic liaisons at the moment, because not well enough. My lungs are a bit bad at the moment too. I've had bad asthma today, really bad, last few days. It probably doesn't help all the the dust and that from drilling and sanding and polishing, and it looks quite nice. Anyhow, so that's my story. But there was a lot of sweetness last night. And then there's another a married couple, a very nice couple that come dancing, and the wife asked me randomly last night how old I am, and I said I'll be 58 in April. And they're both very Aspergery and very rigid. So she said, so you're 57? And I smiled and I said, yes, I'm 57 until April, and then I'm 58. She's like looking at me strangely. So she turns to her husband, she says, Tanya's 57. And he nodded, you know. And I'm like, what's this obsession about me being 57? Anyway, she actually looks quite young, this lady. She's, I'm not sure, but I think she's Malaysian. And she's got really long hair down to her bottom, and she's a very sexy woman. And the husband looks younger than her, probably late 40s, you know. Anyway, she turned to me, she said, I'm 64. I don't believe that for one moment, but she might be. And she was amazed that I was 57, and I was amazed that she was 64. I'm sure I can't have heard that right. I can't have heard. She doesn't look 64. But anyway, lovely couple. They're a very lovely couple. And they're a bit weird in there. His husband's got lots of autistic traits, you know, and he usually gets he's very shy, and when women sidle up to him and flirt him, he gets really upset and runs away, you know, because he's a married man, he's out dancing with his wife, but he's lovely. I like them both. They're unusual couple, but they're lovely, but they're very shy. Anyway, she was very affectionate, and she was hugging and kissing the guys in the band, and they must be her favourite band, and and she was very happy, and her husband was happy, and they actually danced most of the evening, because often they run away, they get weirded out by some, you know, inappropriate behaviour in the dance hall, which there often is inappropriate behaviour in the dance hall, and they often run off, you know. They did disappear for a while, and they said, we'll be back, and they did come back. So, but yeah, nice couple, but unusual. But I like them. I actually like them, that they're unusual. I like unusual people, as long as they're kind and nice and respectful and treat people, you know, with kindness. I don't mind if people are a bit, you know, oddball or unusual. I mean, I was in love with the last guy who was completely oddball and unusual, but unfortunately it turned malicious, so there is that. It's not how I envisaged any of that. Anyway, I tried the other day over and over again. I'm very disappointed. I bought this little cheap ring online, and when it came it wasn't sterling silver, and I was really peeved off because it's a nice Viking ring. Can you see it? It came without a stone even. It was just done so cheaply and awful. So I spent 2 days trying to make a casting of it, and I couldn't, because it's got the big gaps through the stone. You can see the clay still wedged in there. I couldn't get it to cast. I tried and I tried and I tried. So I ended up with a big mess of molten silver, and it just looked awful. So I'll have to give that dream up. It's got this legend. Oh, I just dropped it. Oh, it's got this. I don't know if you can see it. Try to get it. Other way. Yeah, it's got this ledge inside, which every time I tried casting it, it would just kick up all the sand and make a hell of a mess. See? Oh, there it is. So I couldn't get it to work. So to copy it, I don't know how I'd copy it. It'd have to be maybe completely remade and maybe jeweler's wax or something like that. I was so disappointed because I don't have the skills to copy it, and I wanted it in sterling silver. I wanted a lovely Viking ring. Anyway, poor Tanya. What are we going to do about that? Poor psychedelic dream. I shall get it right one day. But anywho, yes, I've very much got the Viking energy with me, making things out of copper bangles and copper and And when I have more sterling silver and more money, I'll make them in sterling silver. I think that would look lovely in sterling silver with cabochons on it, and so I'll aim towards getting that when I can afford to buy the silver. So I have dreams and aspirations and manifestations to take good care of. You never know your luck in the big city. So yeah, anyway, on that note, I'm going to bid you goodbye. I just wanted to share the funny story about my Jewish friend saying, "What holiday is it?" And I said, "Every day is a holiday for us two Jewish girls." The rabbis would completely freak out, wouldn't they, if they knew? Well, too bad. Too bad. Too very bad. They weren't very nice in the end, didn't have my back. So, and that's after the first couple of decades when they did have my back and were very good to me, but ultimately it all wore a bit thin and they turned savage, and I still don't know what that was about, really. So I gave up on living a traditional Jewish life, and the last 10 years my holy night, my Shabbat, is spent dancing wildly, and that too is a form of meditation, moving meditation, and a form of prayer and manifestation, because what I find happens when I dance powerfully for several hours is I do enter a zone, and it's shamanic. So I find myself opening up spiritually to my angels and my guides, and the occasional dead entity X that might float through from time to time. I usually tell them to naff off. But I do have little visitations from spirits, and I do get positive insights, and some of the insights that I was given were life-saving and protected me during the COVID regime from being compliant like the rest of the population and poisoning themselves out of their skulls. So I was not going to do that. So I guess I can be grateful for my spirit people and my weird little channelings. Sometimes they come through quite randomly and powerfully and astonishingly, usually with song lyrics. I've been getting song lyrics gifted to me since from spirit since like the year my marriage really broke down, so 1994, and some of those are quite astonishingly pertinent and accurate, and make you sit up and take notice. So I had song lyrics the other day going through my head, and I knew the melody. I could hear the melody, and I knew the line "blinded by the light," so I knew that was a line from the song, but I didn't know what the actual name of the song was or who the artist was. So I had to Google the lyrics. This often happens when I get given songs from spirit. I had to Google the lyrics and find the actual song, and then go read, play the song on Spotify, and then read the actual lyrics and find the actual line and try and figure out what it meant. And it just kept saying, "Blinded by the light, blah, 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 blah." So anyway, I worked it out. It was called Blinding Lights. After all that, it was a pretty obvious title, right? Anyway, I still don't quite know what the meaning is. But yeah, I mean, I had all this sudden interest from Joe, and then my female friend Joe suddenly messaging me and going, "Did anyone show up?" I can't imagine who she means by that, so I'm too tired to go out dancing again and try and find out who she means by that, because I danced last night and that's enough. I used to do 2 nights. 1 night's enough. It's just too exhausting for me physically. And I figure too, if anyone wanted to actually connect with me or communicate with me, who's a living person, there's a wonderful invention. It's called a telephone, or it's called email, or it's called text messages. I don't do the spiritual shenanigans where they try and communicate with me telepathically and leave me guessing, who is it? Who wants to know me? Like when my dead ex-lover died in 2016 and he literally hammered with his fists on my front door. I mean, that was weird. I had to put out a prayer and ask the universe, like, can you tell me who it is that's banging on my front door? And I quite astonishingly was gifted the answer on day 3 of him hammering the door each night, 4 nights. So, I'm a direct communicator. If you want to talk to me, ring me up. G'day, how are you? It takes courage. I've made a fool of myself ringing the sex lover over the years. I've stopped doing it because it's a waste of my time. But, if someone really wants to communicate with me, they know where I live. They know how to contact me. I'm not interested in playing schoolboy games with idiots. So I can't imagine who Jo meant, because I don't think she would have meant that particular person, because she knows, that was a long time going nowhere for 9 years. So time to get off that groove, find someone new. And unfortunately, the new men that are coming along, who are being quite sweet and seem to quite like me, I'm not really interested in them romantically, which is a shame, It is a shame. They might actually be the right man for me. They might actually be decent men, but I have trust issues now. I have major trust issues, and that's what happens when you damage a woman over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where she actually wanted to die. It's like you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. If you act like an ass, like a donkey's ass for decades, you can't expect a woman to just go, oh, I'm so grateful you're abusing me. Please come into my life and let's have another go round of hell. Sooner or later, even the angels had to weep. I was put through so much hell. So here we are. What is it? The 4th of March 2023. And I'm content in my own little world, making my copper bangles and my jewellery and my sterling silver melting that I'm doing now. And I was going to say, did I show you Yoda? But yes, I did. There's another video where I showed you Yoda. So the force is with me. The force in the sense of the spiritual, life force of the multiverses. The beautiful force, not the aggressive, armed forces or paramilitary or police. We reject all of that. Yuck, 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 yuck. But the force of the fabric of the universe is definitely with me, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the protection from my archangels and spirit guides. And even my Israeli friend at the casino, he says, what holiday is it? It's Purim. It's Purim, Stika. It's Purim. We're supposed to get drunk and eat hamantashen, but it's okay because we drink every weekend. So anyway, I might actually make hamantashen in honour of Purim. I don't have a congregation to go to. Well, I could eat humble pie and go back to the old stomping grounds, but after I wrote to them and asked them to remove my mother off their Yizkor list, that she wasn't Jewish and was completely evil to me, they had the arrant chutzpah to write back and said, no, even though she's not Jewish, she's still my mother and she deserves to be on their memorial list. I mean, how desperate are you for bums on seats? Seriously. She must have given them a lot of donations over the years, even though she wasn't Jewish or a member of that congregation, because she's bought herself a permanent placement as the dibbock in their roof. And I find that hilarious. So you keep Gisela, BPJC. What are they called now? Bait Or. You just look after my mother's evil spirit. You just look after your own. Yeah, cleave to your own malevolence. hold true to your own lowest entity common denominator. I'm not crawling back anytime soon, not even for Purim to get drunk and stamp my feet for Haman and my mother and Hitler and all the other despotic evil pigs that came into my life. I'll just be gracious and reserve my spirituality for my Friday nights dancing or Saturday nights whenever I decide to go out again. Anyway, on that note, have a wonderful evening, and to the remnant Jew crew that still love me, Chag Purim Sameach. Have a wonderful Purim. And as I always say, never ever let the bastards grind you down. Good night from Brisbane, Australia.